Right now, as you watch this, something is happening inside your arteries. Tiny immune cells are patrolling your artery walls. Cholesterol particles are either being oxidized and trapped or being cleared out. That process didn't start last week. It started in your 30s, and after 50, it accelerates. The question isn't whether you have some arterial buildup. You almost certainly do. The question is, can food actually shift that process in the other direction? Because the science says yes, and it's more specific than you think. Welcome to Second Prime, where science meets your second chapter. Today, I'm walking you through 7 specific foods, each with a distinct biological mechanism for improving arterial health. Not vague advice. Exact compounds, real trial data, and precise serving sizes. Let's set the context first, because it changes everything else in this video. Atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque inside your artery walls, doesn't suddenly appear in your 60s. Autopsy studies going back decades found early fatty streaks in adults in their 20s. By your 50s, the process is well underway. What makes it dangerous is that it's almost entirely silent. No symptoms, no warning, until it isn't. A plaque ruptures, a clot forms, and the result is a heart attack or stroke. What these 7 foods do is target the underlying biology. Oxidized LDL, systemic inflammation, endothelial dysfunction, arterial stiffness, not one at a time, simultaneously. Number 1. Fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, herring. The omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, work through 4 pathways at once. First, they dramatically reduce triglycerides, often by 20 to 30% at therapeutic doses. Second, they lower CRP, the blood marker for systemic inflammation. Third, they reduce platelet aggregation, making your blood less sticky, less likely to clot dangerously. And fourth, the Evaporate trial found that 4 grams per day of EPA was associated with a 17% relative reduction in low attenuation plaque volume at 18 months. That's actual plaque, measured directly on imaging. The high-dose EPA in that trial was pharmaceutical grade, not a fish dinner. But 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week is the amount consistently linked to lower cardiovascular mortality in large cohort studies. That's your target. Number 2. Leafy greens. Spinach, arugula, kale, Swiss chard. Here's the mechanism, and it's elegant. These vegetables are loaded with dietary nitrates. When you chew them, bacteria in your mouth convert those nitrates to nitrite. Your stomach then converts nitrite to nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is the molecule your arteries use to relax and widen. Vasodilation. This directly lowers blood pressure and improves endothelial function. Basically, how well the inner lining of your arteries works. A 2024 meta-analysis covering 113 studies found dietary nitrate significantly reduced both systolic and diastolic blood pressure and improved arterial stiffness. Leafy greens are also rich in vitamin K1, linked to reduced arterial calcification. 1 cup of cooked spinach a day is your nitrate target. One practical note: don't use antibacterial mouthwash right after eating greens. You'd kill the bacteria that start the whole conversion chain. Number 3. Berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. The active compounds are anthocyanins, the pigments that give these fruits their deep colors. They work by protecting LDL cholesterol from oxidation. Here's why that matters. LDL itself isn't the whole story. It's oxidized LDL that gets trapped in artery walls and triggers the inflammatory cascade that builds into plaque. Anthocyanins interrupt that process at the source. A 2024 meta-analysis on blueberry intervention found significant improvements in flow-mediated dilation, a direct measure of artery flexibility, by 1.5%. A 1% improvement in flow-mediated dilation is associated with roughly an 8% lower cardiovascular event risk in population studies. Half a cup of mixed berries daily, frozen works just as well as fresh, is a reasonable target. If that one surprised you, hit the like button. It genuinely helps us reach more people. Now, before I get to number 4, which is the only food on earth with an FDA-approved cholesterol claim, quick one. If you're getting value from this, subscribe. We put out new science-backed longevity videos every Monday and Thursday. Number 4 genuinely changed how I think about breakfast. Number 4, oats. Specifically rolled oats, not the instant flavored packets. Here's something most people don't know. Oats are the only food in the United States with an FDA-approved health claim for reducing cholesterol. It earned that because the evidence is unusually strong. The active compound is beta-glucan, a soluble fiber. When beta-glucan reaches your intestine, it forms a thick gel that binds to bile acids. Your liver uses cholesterol to make bile acids, so when those acids get excreted, your liver is forced to pull LDL out of your bloodstream to make more. Multiple meta-analyses find 3 grams of beta-glucan per day reduces LDL by approximately 5%. One bowl of rolled oats delivers your 3-gram target, not as dramatic as a statin. But this is breakfast, not a prescription. Number 5, extra virgin olive oil. This is the one with the strongest human trial data. The PREDIMED study, one of the largest dietary intervention trials ever run, randomized over 7,400 adults at high cardiovascular risk to a Mediterranean diet with extra virgin olive oil, a Mediterranean diet with nuts, or a low-fat controlled diet. The olive oil group used about 4 tablespoons per day. After around 5 years, they had approximately 30% fewer major cardiovascular events. The study was retracted and republished in 2018 due to a procedural issue, but the corrected analysis held. Why? 3 mechanisms. Oleocanthal reduces arterial inflammation through the same pathway as ibuprofen. Oleic acid raises HDL, and the polyphenols protect LDL from oxidation. The keyword is extra virgin. Refined olive oil loses most of those polyphenols in processing. Dark glass bottle, cold pressed, used within a few months of opening. Number 6, garlic. I know, it sounds like folk medicine, but the data is solid. The active compound is allicin, which forms when garlic is crushed or chopped, and the enzyme alliinase activates. Key preparation detail. Crush your garlic and let it rest for 10 minutes before cooking. Cooking immediately after crushing destroys the enzyme before it finishes. That 10-minute wait matters. On blood pressure, a 2024 meta-analysis of aged garlic extract across 19 trials found significant reductions in systolic blood pressure, averaging 2.5 to 8 millimeters of mercury, with larger effects in people with established hypertension. For context, A 5 millimeter reduction in systolic blood pressure is associated with roughly a 9% lower stroke risk. Garlic also modestly reduces LDL and inhibits platelet aggregation. If you're on blood thinners, mention that last point to your doctor. Number 7. Dark chocolate. There's a specific threshold here. The flavanols in cocoa, particularly epicatechin, improve endothelial function and reduce arterial stiffness. The Cosmos trial, a large randomized study of over 21,000 adults, tested 500 milligrams of cocoa flavanols per day against placebo for 3.6 years. Result: no significant reduction in total cardiovascular events, but a 27% reduction in cardiovascular mortality specifically. That's a meaningful signal from a rigorous trial. Practically, to get meaningful flavanol levels, you need 70% cocoa content or higher, and around 20 to 25 grams, roughly 1 to 2 squares. Milk chocolate doesn't count. Milk proteins bind to the flavanols and block absorption. And watch the sugar content. 1 or 2 squares of high-quality dark chocolate is a reasonable daily addition, not a license to eat a whole bar. Here's what the individual food studies don't fully capture. These foods don't just add up, they compound. The PREDIMED trial wasn't testing olive oil in isolation. It was testing a dietary pattern that included many of these foods together. That 30% reduction in cardiovascular events came from the whole pattern. Omega-3s reduce inflammation. Leafy greens improve endothelial function. Oats lower circulating LDL. Anthocyanins protect that LDL from oxidation. Olive oil polyphenols add another layer of protection. Each mechanism amplifies the others, which is why the most powerful version of this isn't eat more berries. It's build a daily pattern where most of these foods appear most days. That's achievable, and that's where the strongest clinical evidence actually lives. Quick recap: fatty fish, 2 to 3 servings a week, triglycerides, inflammation, platelet aggregation. Leafy greens, 1 cup cooked daily, nitric oxide and vasodilation. Berries, half a cup daily, frozen is fine. LDL oxidation protection. Rolled oats, 1 bowl, the only FDA-approved cholesterol food claim on earth. Extra virgin olive oil, a few tablespoons a day. PREDIMED evidence. Garlic, crushed and rested 10 minutes. Blood pressure and antiplatelet. Dark chocolate, 1 to 2 squares at 70% or higher. Flavanols and endothelial function. Pick 2 or 3 you don't already eat regularly. Start there. The biology doesn't require perfection. It just responds to consistency. So, which of these 7 foods are you already eating? And which one are you adding first? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'll pin the best responses. If this was useful, the next video to watch is the one on the exercise that does for your cardiovascular system